Importance of cookie consent notices on your website. Transparency is essential for building trust between a website's visitors and the digital infrastructure that supports them, i.e., the Internet. It helps gain the trust of the visitor, and only then can a business flourish completely. An X-ray lens and some flashlights are needed to see into the murky corners of Internet tracking. The cookie notice, banner, or permission notice. These things are very commonly seen while surfing the net. However, it is not common to understand. People work with these things typically and daily without understanding their significance. This creates a rift between both parties and decreases transparency. However, the decreased transparency is not a good omen for any part, especially for an extensive connectivity system. Also, various governments have several rules for managing cookies. They have also made it clear that large platforms using cookies should provide complete information about their users. However, the role of real consumers of cookies, mainly businesses, organizations, etc., is not clear. Similarly, different businesses and small organizations are not clear about the uses and implementation of cookies. Other informative sources like us play a significant role in creating awareness and spreading information regarding such topics for businesses and users. If it's permitted to be, that is, the cookie can be described as below. The GDPR and e-privacy directive legally enforce the right to privacy. But the cookie notice is the physical lock on your virtual door. There is a brief explanation in this article that explains all you need to know about cookie notices, including the cookie policy, the significance of the cookie consent notice, and why to set it up on your website. What are cookies? Cookies can be considered as small-sized text files. Suppose you visit a site, then your computer or device receives cookies from that website. Then, it stores it inside the web browser folder of its internal space. Cookies provide ample byte information regarding the site to the visitor. Also, depending upon the site and its related attributes, the type of cookies also differs. There are several kinds of cookies. For example, some keep your login passwords saved so that you don't need to re-enter it again next time. Another type of cookie manages how long you visited the site and what items you browsed the most. The cookies help not just the businesses but also the users. For example, it helps businesses make data-oriented decisions about the potential customers. Advertisements, ways to influence their customers, increase sales, etc. On the other hand, it helps users get an optimized browsing experience. Several functions that we use, like saving the shopping cart items. One more example is that frequently visited web pages are presented on the browser itself. You don't need to visit the website or log in again and again. It is also due to cookies. But some people don't like cookies as they feel that it's an invasion of their privacy. Cookies analyze your browsing track. They understand what you are seeing, when and for how long. This creates a shadow of privacy invasion for various people. It has given rise to various rules and regulations that businesses need to follow. Under such rules, they need to provide certain disclosures about using cookies for the users. They also need to take the user's permission before taking any information regarding his browsing history through cookies. Before such rules, websites were free to install cookies anywhere they wanted on the website without user permission. Therefore, there was no say of the user in deciding the use of cookies. However, after these rules and regulations, it is essential to take the user's consent before implementing cookies. Also, the user needs to be given proper notice about the use of cookies. What is a cookie notice? Before deciding on a cookie policy, there are a few things to consider. So, what are cookie notices and their significance? Users' permission to process the data may be obtained through a cookie notice. For example, for a user to decide whether or not they want the data processed by cookies and trackers on a website, cookie notifications are shown when a visitor arrives on the site. The banner that appears as soon as you land on a website is a cookie notification. If you're presented with a cookie consent dialog box, click Accept. All of them should share the goal of safeguarding your right to privacy by delaying using any tracking technology that aims to gather your data until you, the user, express your explicit permission. Get a cookie compliance test to see whether your website complies with the GDPR's cookie consent. A cookie compliance test will do a free scan of your website to identify any cookies and trackers on the up to 5 subpages included in the free scan and whether or not you meet the GDPR's cookie consent requirements. What exactly is a cookie policy? An initial cookie policy is shown in the form of a pop-up or banner when a user first visits a website. Then, when visitors visit a website, they'll see a list of cookies that are currently in use, the purpose of the cookies, and how the data will be used. Cookie policies don't only educate people, they also allow them control over their cookie preferences, including whether or not to accept or reject third-party cookies altogether. According to the Privacy and Electronic Communications regulations in the United Kingdom, websites must get permission from visitors before collecting and storing the data. Users are more conscious of how the data is gathered when they are made aware and allowed to control cookies. A statement on how a website treats personal information should be included. You must explain to your visitors why they are collecting and using their personal information in this manner. It is possible to have a cookie policy separate from the privacy policy or as part of the privacy policy. Are cookie notices necessary for your website? If your website receives any traffic from the United Kingdom or the European Union, you must comply with all applicable regulations, including GDPR. A fine or additional legal action from the Information Commissioner's Office is possible if your website does not meet the Data Protection Act (ECO) requirements. Some of the cookie advertisements you encounter on the Internet are a hoax. In some instances, cookies are placed by some websites without the user's permission. In addition, cookie notifications are bombarded by other companies, which results in consent fatigue, where users are just clicking accept without reading anything. The GDPR sparked a frenzy since it applies to any website that aims to serve EU clients. A hefty fine accompanied it. Websites in the United States went into a panic. They figured they'd best comply with GDPR if they wanted to avoid penalties from European visitors. The EU enforces these regulations. Thus, they cannot be applied internationally. Non-EU residents, non-EU websites, and non-EU visitors don't require cookie notices since cookies aren't targeted. What are cookie laws? The central notions under the cookies laws are as follows. Users must be informed about the uses of cookies by various methods like cookie flag, notice, disclosure, etc. This information should be provided before every use. Also, the businesses need to take the user's consent before applying the cookies. Let's see the laws made for EU citizens by GDPR regarding cookies. Other countries have also made similar laws. In its laws, GDPR strictly says that businesses can offer products or services to the citizens and run their businesses or gather the user's personal and private information only. The rules of GDPR are applied to the people irrespective of the location or main headquarters of the business. GDPR focuses on all the cookies that collect information regarding users' habits or browsing habits. Various cookies come under GDPR guidance, like cookies used for analytical purposes, advertising, etc. The GDPR says that businesses need to take active consent from the users for placing the cookies. Businesses can't just work on implied consent from the users. Users will also have the option of withdrawing from cookies or opt out from its application for the data. So, for any business, it becomes crucial to execute the following options at least. First, you need to notify the users that you are using cookies. Second, the business needs to ask for the user's active consent before setting up the cookies. You also need to offer an opt-out method for the users if they don't want to get under the cookie application. This task of informing can quickly be done by giving cookie notice to the users as they enter your website. What are different ways of notifying your customers about cookie applications? Now, when you have decided to place a cookie notice on your website, you need to think about different ways by which you can present it to the users. As it has already been mentioned that users need to give active permission for the implementation of the cookies. It will help if you put up an explicit notification for the users. There are several easy ways of doing that. Here, we are discussing a few of them. Fixed footer notification. You can add your cookie notice to the website footer. It is a smart move because there are high chances your user will look at it. Several websites already put their legal information in the footer, like terms and conditions. So, users are accustomed to looking at the bottom for information. So your users will also pay extra attention to the cookie notification. For instance, we can see the website of Accenture. It also puts the cookie use notification on the footer. The notification remains on the footer position as long as the user sees and clicks on the notification for further action. It further links the notification to the cookie policies of Accenture. This helps users to get more information about the cookie policy. Users can further decide whether they want to take up the cookies or not. Top header notification. A top header notification is also a great way of describing the cookie notification. It will be displayed on the front of the center of the website's top. So, this represents that a site visitor will not miss it. The website already uses the top portion to put crucial information like sales, new launches, etc. So, there is no chance that visitors will miss the notification. For instance, the Bank of Australia also puts the cookie notification on the top. However, it doesn't provide setting options. So, the user can learn about cookies but can't manage the settings. However, this approach is not advisable. Should you set up a cookie notice? Fortunately, many options are available to aid develop cookie banners, privacy policies, and more. As online policies are mandated by law and numerous tools accessible, there is no justification for not establishing a cookie policy on your website. Once you scan your website and precisely determine which cookies are present and where on your website, you can work on your cookie policy. Using online solutions, you may adapt your insurance to your website to obtain high-level legal coverage while keeping distinctiveness. Your website's cookies and data must be considered when creating your cookie policy. Wrapping up. A duty to provide cookie permission in a manner that is not just obvious but also transparent. Everything we do on the internet reflects the culture we choose to develop as a society. Because of this, and not merely to avoid hefty penalties under GDPR, a cookie notice must be straightforward, honest, and to the point to be effective. Moreover, it teaches us all about the internet's uncertain nature. Using this, the user and the general public can learn about the many colors of the internet. What to search for and how to take control of your personal information are made apparent in this guide.